Welcome to Create Your Happy, the podcast that empowers conscious women in life, relationship, and business. I'm your host, Christy Holt, happiness hussy and conscious funpreneur on a mission to change the world one beautiful soul at a time. Now get ready, because on this very special bonus season, we are going to take your entrepreneurial journey to a whole nother level. These uncut conversations are designed to support you as you unleash your entrepreneurial brilliance upon the world. My incredible guests and I have come together with a shared vision to empower women to fully embrace their humanness, find their unique voice, and lead with love. All right, gorgeous, it's time to get curious and become inspired. It's time to create your happy. Welcome to this week's masterclass. In the masterclass series, I am super excited for this conversation with Nikyla Maria about inner child, because this is just, first of all, it's such a fun and playful zone. And so I'm really excited to share a fun and playful conversation about healing that inner child. And I'm hoping that we can bring a little bit of lightness to this area, because a lot of people do tend to see inner child work as heavy or difficult. And so I want to just hopefully bring a little bit of light to this and hope to show you the beautiful sides of this. And so welcome to the masterclass series, Nikyla. Nikyla is an inner child and self-mastery expert. She is a divine channel. She is a speaker. She is, oh my gosh. Well, you know what, Nikyla, why don't you take it from here and just share a little bit about who you are and what got you to this place before we dive all the way into our incredible conversation that we have planned today.
Oh, thank you, Christy. I'm so excited to be here. I love this community you've built. I'm excited to dive into inner child work. It's a huge passion of mine. I had a lot of my own childhood trauma from the age 4 up until 25, which is, I classify childhood trauma from the womb to 25. And it was those experiences that really gave me all of the knowledge, the tools, the knowing that I needed to move forward in helping other people heal and reparent their inner child. I used to be a high school history teacher, and then I was a principal for many years. And so my love for kids and education helped me to cultivate this passion even more. And so I took all of my own life experiences, my own aspect of spirituality, and my role in the education system, and I kind of combined them all to really cultivate my expertise in this area. And I could talk inner child for days and never get bored.
There's so much really to talk about, and so much of our experience of it comes from our own perception and our own stories. So there's really, approximately 8 billion inner child stories, right? And so it's a fun, again, I'm throwing the fun back in there. Maybe you disagree with me, not you. I think that you get this fun aspect. But if you're out there thinking, I don't know about going back to that time and really thinking about those traumas, is not fun. And it might not be fun to look at them face to face. But what I have experienced myself is the more we try and avoid it, the more we try and distance ourselves from it, the more we resist it, the more unfun it is, first of all, because we're actually creating this resistant energy against it. And so we're actually like playing this game with it, this sort of resist, and yet also clinging to it. And what is even more fun is moving through it and releasing all of that stuck energy and all of that trauma that we have probably been carrying with us for an awful long time. And this is an opportunity to set down that heavy weight, right? Put down that bag of bricks, or that sack of shit that you might have been carrying for all the things that didn't go the way that you had hoped, or that they maybe should have gone, so that you can find freedom.
Yeah. I mean, I think too, it depends on how we define fun. And the thing I've seen about inner child work, I mean, if you think of it this way, last night for me, I was having a conversation with my son. He was in this really deep, hard moment in his life with all the things about going through puberty and finding friend groups and starting a new school, right? And what I could have done was I could have joined him in his suffering, and we both could have suffered, and that would have been fine. But instead, I came as this loving, compassionate, understanding parent that sat with him, that validated him, that helped him to see a new perspective on his own. And in the end, we ended up celebrating. And it was honestly like, it was heartbreaking to watch at first, but the way that we ended our night was one of the most connected and fun moments I've ever had. And that's exactly what inner child work does. If you come at it and you're like, I'm going to sink into this trauma and relive it, and I'm going to suffer again, then that's what's going to happen, you know? But if you approach it with like, this inner child of mine deserves compassion and love and a new perspective, we reshape our whole childhood. It's no longer, I had a traumatic childhood. It's now, I experienced some really hard things and I am a different person now because of it.
And that's the truth with every single thing that we have gone through. And this was something I was reflecting on and sharing with my family as of late, is just that we wouldn't be here right now, wherever that is for you, without all of those experiences. And so this is a way of honoring the path that we have journeyed along. And it is and can be fun and light and playful. And it is ultimately going to come back down to, like you mentioned, that self-compassion. And that's not something that everybody has been taught. We often really struggle to give ourselves that love and that compassion. It's just not a tool that many of our parents knew about. It's more, and even emotional intelligence was not a resource that was really available readily in previous generations. So these are relatively new tools, but they really can help us to go back in time, to heal, to give those parts of us that are still with us. You're still, that inner child is still within you. They still deserve the love and the compassion and the acceptance and that freedom. And this is ultimately about healing the child within you. It's about healing the current version of you. And it's ultimately providing healing for all the future versions and every future moment from here forth for you all at the same time. And to me, that is one of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself, to look within, to really discover and to give compassion and love to all of those parts of you, especially the ones that you're resistant to, especially the ones that you've kind of pushed away because they're painful, they're uncomfortable, and we don't have necessarily the tools and resources to deal with that. So hopefully after today's conversation, you're going to have a few more tools in your toolbox, things that you can start small with. And I would love for you to share. I know you have this incredible tool. So if you'd like to share about your deck now, that would be really awesome. And then we'll just keep going on the topic of what small things maybe the listeners can do to start this inner child healing journey.
Yes, let's do it. And I think we should pull a card too while we're here.
Yeah, let's do it.
They're so much fun. So this is my inner child oracle card deck. I designed it. I'll show you guys what it's about while we pull one.
Yeah.
But it comes with this 200-page guidebook. And in this is a description of all the different wounds you can have as an inner child. And it also comes with exactly what Christy was talking about, daily, everyday steps that are really small that you can do to start to nurture and heal that inner child aspect of you. Then it also comes with, I wanted it to be really fun. So it also comes with 56 hand painted cards that not only can you like feel them, right? Because that's so important for all of our different learning styles, but you can see all of the different images on them, and they all kind of speak to you and the different aspects of your inner child so that you can play, have fun, but also connect emotionally with that part of you. So let's do it. Do you want to say when for this pull, since you're more attached to your collective?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm going to just let you do your shuffling magic.
Okay. So let's just start with one. So I'll start shuffling. You tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Oh, one just fell out. So
I guess that's it.
You want to use that one?
Yeah, I think that's it. If it's jumping out, that's the one, baby.
Do it. So today we got a reversed card. So I'll read the whole description, but everyone listening, pay attention to the reversed meaning. So this is Julius. and he stands for self-sabotage. So let's
Ooh.
see what's in store for us today. I like these cards because some of them are really light and encouraging, and some of them just tell you the truth that you need to hear in that moment. So
We all can use the truth with love, right? With love and compassion, because the truth, that awareness is what allows us choice. It's what gives us the ability to make a choice. We can't make a choice if we're completely unaware. So building this self-awareness actually opens the door for possibilities and opportunities.
I totally agree. And Julius is actually like, I like listening to him. So this is what he says. Hey there, my name is Julius. I feel like my own worst enemy sometimes. Have you ever felt that way? Like I have so many ideas, so many things I want to do, but I hold myself back. If I'm being honest, I do this in most areas of my life. When Julius comes to visit, it's time to get honest about some of your self-sabotaging behavior. Do you seem to get in your own way every time life is going well? Do you find yourself creating suffering where there needn't be any? Self-sabotaging behavior stems from unworthiness, anxiety, and unhealed trauma. When our body and spirit are out of alignment, our mind takes over and creates circumstances that feel more normal, even though they cause us pain and create drama. When we tell ourselves the truth about the way we are showing up or not showing up for ourselves, we can choose something new. It's important to take time today to look around your life, spot the self-sabotaging behavior, and begin to tune in and choose differently. This will take mindset work, trauma processing, nervous system reprogramming, and more. Find the support you need. When reversed, you are starting to heal this pattern or cycle. Take some time to reflect on your progress and behaviors you may have taken control of. Your mantra for Julius: I am worthy of showing up for myself. Some remedies are to get clear on how you want to feel in life, why you want to feel that way, what you will allow yourself to experience that feeling. And you can take one small action in the direction of your dreams. Some journaling questions you can ask are: when I think of showing up for myself, I feel. I notice self-sabotaging behavior when. And my biggest fear in regards to my dreams coming true is. That was Julius.
Ah, incredible. And I love the topic of self-sabotage. And I feel like self-sabotage isn't the right way of saying that. So I will say it's really more self-preservation. It feels like self-sabotage because we have so heavily identified with our minds. It feels like self-sabotage. It feels like our asshole mind is getting in our way and saying, no, no, don't, stop, or you should, you must, you need to do these things, whatever it is. So it could go either direction of like, keeping up, or it could be like blocking you in analysis paralysis. But either way, it is about self-preservation. It's about safety. It's about staying in, and not even really what's actually safe, right? This is the crux of the thing. It's about what's familiar. And so if chaos is familiar, you will end up subconsciously, unconsciously seeking out that which is familiar, which in your case, if that's familiar, would be the chaos, the drama, the challenges, the patterns, the loops. They keep coming back. And if we've identified heavily with our mind, we think that our thoughts are us. We claim them as us, which is not, it's not the truth. That's only just a little small part of you, and you are actually far more powerful than those thoughts. But if we start to claim them, we really can see and feel like we're in a place of self-sabotage. And I know that is very common out there because I have observed that from an identified position and now from a less identified position. So I can see those thoughts don't ever totally go away. They still invite you to play not in a fun way, right? You'll still have these invitations, and you have to just remember, which humans are like not the greatest maybe at remembering, that we are actually more powerful than our thoughts and our emotions, and that we are actually the ones who are observing them, who are responding to them. But it's so easy to get sucked in. It's so easy to get sucked in. And when we have had a lot of these traumas earlier in our life, those traumas actually create an automatic response where it doesn't feel like we have a choice, right? And it does feel like maybe it's self-sabotage because, oh, here we are back in the same loop, back in the same pattern, seeing the same things happening. Oh, there's more drama. Oh, there's more chaos. All of these things. It's just like, oh, here we fucking go again. But not totally recognizing that we have a choice, because it doesn't fucking feel like we have a choice. We have these traumas and we keep opening them up inadvertently, unknowingly, and experiencing our life from that place. But we don't have to do that, right? We can do things differently.
Right. And that's where the fun part of inner child work comes in, is you get to say, wait, I don't have to live in misery. I don't have to live in this pattern. I don't have to live in this cycle. I get to choose something different. And it honestly is so freeing. But one thing that I like to do is kind of look at it from that detached perspective. You've already experienced the trauma. You've already experienced the drama, all of the suffering, all of the patterns. When you go back and look at this to reparent it, you can look at it kind of like a movie, like, oh my gosh, and let yourself witness it and then rewrite the script. And it can actually be really fun.
Yeah. And it's, if you are listening and you have been through a more significant trauma, and I wouldn't put parameters on that. I'm going to let you discern if you feel as though it has been a significant trauma, because that's how you experience it is far more important than the actual event itself. It's your experience of it that really defines how that trauma continues to operate in your life. So if you've experienced that, just know that this is not a bypass. This is not, pretending it didn't happen. It is not tolerance of bad behavior. It is not excusing or anything like that, or justifying bad things that happen to you. In fact, it's a way of fully accepting that, yes, this happened. However, we want you to be free from that, not continue to live stuck in those patterns, right? We want you to step out of, well, I don't really feel like I have a choice, this just keeps happening, to I do have a choice. I am empowered. I have the tools. I have the resources. I have the awareness. And now that I have these things, I can create a different outcome. I can create a different ending to the story. I can rewrite it from here, from previous victim in my story to victorious over whatever it is. And I know myself, as I have gone through the messiest parts of my life, it felt like shit while I was in it. So I'll tell you, I see you, and I totally understand. If you're in the middle of the shit pile right now, I give you so much love. And I invite you to give yourself the same love and compassion, because I know you're doing the best that you can with the resources and understanding that you have. That is my general premise about all human beings. We are doing the best we can. And if we're not doing the best, it's because we don't have the resources yet. And so we often beat ourselves up for not having the resources or not having the answers or the tools before, and making a quote unquote mistake. But that's actually how we grow. That's how we learn, right? Sometimes we have to go through a challenging experience to recognize, oh yeah, that didn't work out. What can I do differently? But the trouble is we can get stuck in the loop of that was bad. I did wrong. I made a poor choice. I'm going to live with the consequences and really stay stuck in that, instead of turning it and making it into a nugget. What new wisdom? It's always a little bit of wisdom, a little nugget of something for you to grow and evolve when you go through a challenging situation. But we don't always stop and think about that. So inviting in some awareness instead of that guilt or that shame or that self-criticism, that self-sabotage that keep you safe in your familiar zone, to allow yourself to expand, to move forward, to stretch your comfort zone.
I think that's so powerful. And I think that something huge that can help anyone who is feeling that way right now is the compassion we talked about at the beginning, seeing yourself as the small child. I don't know about you, but with my, like, for example, with my kids' trauma, I never fueled their fire. I didn't say, you're right, you are such a victim, this is a horrible thing that happened with you. I said, oh my goodness, that is so hard. And you didn't deserve that. And I love you. And what that does is, number one, it doesn't fuel the fire. It still validates their feelings. And then I say, and I know you can do hard things, right? We shouldn't have to, but we can do hard things. And oftentimes, when I was healing my trauma, the only reason that I could pull out of it was because I told myself every day, Nikyla, you didn't deserve this. You don't deserve this. And no one's coming to save you. You can do hard things. And you deserve to be your own savior. You deserve to hold yourself up and hug yourself through this and create a different life outside of this. And I know that when you're deep in that darkness, it's like, well, how do I do that? I can barely survive. And you start with seeing yourself as that child and giving yourself that unconditional, whole love and acceptance, and empowering yourself through that love in each moment, even when it doesn't feel believable, even when you think, because I know these feelings come up too, even when you think you did something to deserve this, you never, ever did. None of us ever deserve to be hurt in any way, shape, or form. None of us ever deserve abuse. None of us ever deserve gaslighting or mean words or any of it. And so if you can just start by telling yourself, I love you and you didn't deserve this, one day you will believe it. And one day that belief will allow you to create different circumstances from this really, really bad experience.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because we have spent most of our lives, women especially, trying to live up to the expectations of others. And so as women, we have been taught to be the nurturers, right? We're to mother, to give. And this very, very quickly can slide into people pleasing and really forgoing the things of our own needs, our own desires, the things of our own heart, whatever fucking lights our soul on fire. We will set those down in order to please other people. So the compassion we typically can easily extend to other people, but where we often fall short is giving ourselves that compassion. And so this is ultimately building a practice so that you can create that safety within yourself, so that you can give yourself the validation, that you can give yourself the acceptance. And when you can get to this place, and it's a practice, it's a journey, it's a peeling an onion every single fucking day. Every new step is a new piece of the onion and discovering who you are and what comes next. But if you can start to build these practices into your life, first of all, you're gonna have a lot more fun along the way, right? Because if you're not going to love yourself, I mean, who's going to come in and do that for you? Like, life is short and you deserve to have all of your dreams come true. And I'll tell you what, the more that you love yourself, the more capable, the more confident, the more, I already said capable. I guess I want to say capable again. Because you're going to have the resources, you're going to have the capacity, you're going to be able to, bring that, I call in my book, the asshole mind. It's like the ego, that part of your mind that steps in to keep you quote unquote safe in the familiar. And so when you can get that working in your favor, instead of sabotaging you, AKA self-preservation for you, keeping you protected, keeping you alive. Now you can get that amazing ego, then it's not so much an asshole mind. If you get that ego on your side, it can be an incredible tool because it gives us critical thinking and good analysis ability to look at different perspectives, right? It allows us to open up to greater possibilities outside of that autopilot in the background running out of our past. And so the more we get to know ourselves, is this beautiful unfolding, this beautiful journey to creating the life that we truly want, ultimately. Because if we don't know ourselves, first of all, we probably don't know what we want. We might have lost the plot. I've been there. I call it just a momitis when my kids were young and I forgot who the fuck I was. I have like just a mom, right? I'm in people's phones as so-and-so's mom. And I'm like, I don't even really have a name. I'm just going about my momhood, doing what I'm supposed to do, keeping up with everybody else and doing what I'm supposed to fucking do. And I was always so much more than that. I just forgot. So this journey of self-discovery, of asking yourself the questions, of getting curious of, where did I get this belief or this mindset or this response? Where was the first time? This can be really valuable. The first time I felt this emotion that I'm so uncomfortable feeling, and then really working through it, because the only way to release those feelings from you is to feel them. You will not release them by shoving them in your shit bag, as I mentioned earlier. You're not going to be able to get rid of them by stuffing them away or sweeping them under the rug. They're like Klingons. They just attach to you. And whether you consciously or unconsciously are carrying them, they're there nonetheless. So getting to know who you are, getting to know what is in alignment for you is part of that. And the more you know what is or isn't in alignment, the more you're going to be able to make choices that feel really good, so that you're no longer stuck in those stories of suffering and pain, but now you are writing the new story, the one that lights your fucking soul on fire, the one you're excited to get out of bed each day to live, the one that brings you so much gratitude and joy and happiness, bliss, peace, all of those things ultimately that are your true nature. Is your true nature to be full of happiness, to be full of joy, to be overflowing with, the peace that surpasses all understanding. That is your natural intended state. It's just all this other shit gets in the way. All of this lived life experience that just hasn't been processed so that it could be released.
Yes. That's like one of my favorite questions to ask whenever if I'm ever not feeling at peace or in joy or in pleasure, I'm always asking myself, what is out of alignment? And a lot of people feel a lot of pressure by that. But honestly, it's so freeing, because I think people forget that we literally live in a world of unlimited possibilities. And so many clients are always like, but I have bills to pay. That's a choice you're making. Nobody's forcing you to pay your bills. I know society tells you you're going to be a shit show if you don't pay your bills, but you really don't have to. It really is a choice you're making because you desire to have a house or these things, but you don't have to have a house and you don't have to have a cell phone to pay, right? And so it's like when people can really step back and take ownership of, the only reason I'm feeling anything out of alignment is because a choice I'm making that doesn't feel in alignment, and you give yourself that freedom, it becomes really easy. It's just really scary at first, because the whole world's operating in a way that's saying it has to look this way and it has to feel this way, and this is what success is, and it's just never ending.
And it's all backwards, and it all serves to keep us limited. It's keeping our minds on what's familiar. Again, it's really playing into this need for this safety. Again, that's not actually safe or good. It's just the familiar. And so we stay in this loop, right? We're not, as a humanity, we're not getting curious. We're not asking the questions. We're not necessarily going deep. I mean, that's what this community is about. That's what this podcast is about going deep. It is about getting outside of the constraints, the box, the limits, the stories that are keeping us stuck, so that we can write bigger, greater stories of all of the infinite, limitless possibilities that exist. And everything is a choice. Even when you don't feel like it, your response is a choice, right? And so when we can shift out of reacting, out of that autopilot, automatic response, it's not a response, it's a reaction out of flight, flight, or fear. I can't say that right. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. There we go. It's all a fear-based reaction, right? It's not an intentional, conscious response. So when we shift out of survival mode, we can start getting a little bit more curious. We can start taking a moment to think, right? To create an intention, to respond consciously, to choose what may not have seemed previously like a choice at all.
And it's just so freaking exciting because it's just like, whoa, I could do anything I wanted in this moment and in every day. And it gets really, really exciting. And I think the big reminder here is that we're here having this human experience. There's no such thing as failure. If you take this big risk and you fall on your face, then cool, you had the experience of falling on your face. Hooray. We don't get to experience these sensations in any other dimension or way of being. And it's like that's why I like that you started this off with talking about fun, because we take life so and it's just like, it's not that serious. So what if you miss a mortgage payment? So what if you if you snap at your kid? There's a way to learn and evolve from it. And you're not dead if you make a seemed or perceived mistake. We get to have fun. You get to blow up your life and move to Bali. You get to take a really big risk and write a book that may not go anywhere. You get to do all these things. And it's really fun and exciting if you can just let it be.
Yeah, it's, the way I see it is this whole human experience is the purpose. Like, the experience is the purpose. The purpose is the experience of it, right? It's taking this knowledge that is information, that is other people's takes on things, and experiencing it, feeling through it, and understanding from a whole different perspective. Like, that experiential knowledge is so different from just reading about it in a book or hearing about it secondhand. And so, yes, we are here to explore and grow. And honestly, if you're not making mistakes, if you haven't fucked up a time or two, what are you even doing? Are you even living on this planet? And I know it's hard for some people to admit. I don't know. I freely admit I make mistakes, quote unquote, like all the time. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be learning and growing to the extent that I am. So I welcome those challenges. Not too many, please, universe. Not too many more big ones. And, I feel good with that, but it's an adventure. It is an unfolding. This whole experience of life is unfolding, and you get to choose what is the next baby step. Back to the card, I mentioned what is the next small action step that you can take. And that is essentially the approach that I take to life. What is the next small step that I can take? Because if we get too far into the future, that's where we land on anxiety. What could happen? And usually, again, asshole mind jump in to be like, well, this is the worst possible case scenario, so let's ruminate on that for a while. That's not fun. That's not playful. So we want to shift into dreaming, yes, about exciting things that might happen in your future, but also to stay present here in this now moment, because this is the only moment we have. And the more time we spend wishing we were somewhere else, the more time we are missing this present moment right here, this incredible gift, of the present in the present. And we miss our opportunity to live, to experience, to live out, like I say, that purpose that is the experience, that is the purpose.
Yeah. We get to be alive right here and right now. And we can't do that if we're living in the past or projecting into the future. And it's so that I love what we were talking about earlier with that conscious intentionality and choice, because it's when you're in alignment and you are in the present moment, you're not sitting here trying to plan out and control your future. And you're not taking all of these things that happened in the past to prevent you from getting hurt again. You're just here now, owning that my perceived mistakes have made me stronger, and life never stops happening for you. But what ends up happening is you build up this tool belt of your knowingness and evidence that I can handle hard things. And then you get to handle those things with deep inner peace. They no longer suffocate you or try to drown you. You're instead just kind of observing it like, oh, well, this is really shitty.
Yeah, like this is fascinating. That's like my favorite way to, and people seem to chuckle because there'll be some kind of wild situation. I'll be like, how fascinating. And they're like, well, that's one word for it. I'm like, yeah, it is fascinating. Like, not choices I might make, but I love watching and observing humanity doing their thing, whatever the fuck that looks like, because it's fascinating to me. I love watching, reality shows where people are vastly different from me, because I just think it's so fascinating to observe humans in their natural habitat doing their human things. I just find it so interesting to watch, and I'm all about the experience. I'm here 110% for the adventure, for the journey, for every single next step. And I'm human too, so my mind will absolutely go into the future, and I'm like, hold on a minute here, because this does not feel good. And so once I started to observe that most of the time when I was suffering, that it was actually my thoughts that were causing me the suffering, right? I'm thinking shitty things. I'm thinking worst case scenarios, or I'm ruminating on what I maybe should have, blah, 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 in the past. And I've noticed, like, oh my God, like this is actually all up in here. And so that is an illuminating realization when you come to it. You actually sit back and observe, like, wait a minute. If I just shut down these thoughts, right, all this shitty mumbo jumbo, I wouldn't feel so shitty. And then I started to stop doing that. That's actually why I created the spiral stopper method that's in my book. It is about not getting sucked into those shitty thoughts, because they can keep you so stuck there, and you don't deserve to be stuck there. You deserve freedom. You deserve happiness. You deserve to live in your intended state of peace, joy, bliss, however you would want to, whatever words, because words always mean different things to different people, whatever that most amazing, highest, best feeling for you is, we go ahead and slap whatever label that is on there. That's your intended state. That's how you're meant to experience life, not suffering, not struggling, not, reliving the past or having anxious fear about the future, but living right here in the now moment, knowing it's all a choice. Are you ready to break free from self-doubt and embrace a life of empowerment? Introducing the Unstuck for Women Daily Self-Discovery Journal, the ultimate companion to my international best-selling book, Unstuck for Women. This beautifully designed journal will take you on a transformative 90-day journey of gratitude, self-discovery, and personal growth. Each day, you'll dive deep into powerful insights, prompts, and exercises that build confidence and self-love. Align your actions with your desired feeling state and watch as your life transforms. This journal is your key to unlocking the extraordinary woman within you. So get ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth like never before. You can order your copy of the Unstuck for Women Daily Self-Discovery Journal today. Unleash your limitless potential.
And to bring everything you said just full circle, it's just like, this is why we reparent our inner child, because our inner child is the one that created those thought patterns that give us that tunnel vision, that can't see the unlimited possibilities we have here, because they're so stuck in those programs and wounds and hurts. And so as we reparent them and tell them the world is your oyster, it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to suffer. You are strong and capable. Then in those adult moments we have, instead of our wounded inner child taking over, we get to just be clear and innocent and free. And it's so much easier.
I mean, like, talk about giving yourself a gift. It is like gift of freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, when we really look at the science behind all of this, we are like sponges for the first approximately 7 years. And even in utero, we are just absorbing. So all of the things that are happening, you are an innocent child who just does not know any differently. You come into this world, first of all, probably, just think about delivery these days in hospitals from that cozy little space in the womb where everything, all your needs were being met, to like, oof, start, people are panicking and there's
Like
this,
settle, yelling.
yeah, it's just like, it's just fucking chaos right from the get-go. And then, then we have these years of being a helpless baby, being a toddler, figuring shit out as we go and making lots of mistakes and falling down. And thank goodness, we didn't fall down a couple times and somebody didn't shame us and say, oh, you're 1-year-old, what are you trying to do? You thought you could walk? Haha, no, you can't walk. No, we keep fucking trying, right? But anyways, that wasn't the point. That was just a side tangent. We're absorbing so much of our beliefs from the world around us, from our parents, from our friends, from our teachers, from whoever we're involved with and around, from media. And we don't recognize it. We don't realize that we're taking these beliefs on. We actually grow up and we think, that's just what I believe. That's just the way it is. And until we put in some conscious effort to inquire, I love Gabor Mate's like compassionate inquiry, like that approach is like really having a gentleness and a softness with yourself, but inquiring like, where did this idea that I'm so firmly entrenched in believing is the truth, where did it come from? Especially, and more so, we should be doing this with the ones that feel limiting, the things that are bringing us to a smaller space instead of creating expansiveness within us. And so the more we get curious, the more we explore, right, this self-awareness, now we can make more choices, be more intentional, be more conscious about what we're creating in our life, because we can create completely unknowingly. And nobody wants to hear that when you're creating a shitstorm in your life, myself included, right? I don't want to, who wants to look at that? It's not necessarily the first place that we want to look. However, if you want to evolve and grow and expand and live your best possible freaking life, you got to go there, because it's the only way to loosen that from you, right? It's the only way to become free is to move through it. You can't go around it. Now I'm thinking of like that song with the going on a bear hunt, can't go over it, can't go under it, you have to go through it. And so this is part of the human experience, to go through it. And if we go through it with awareness, with intention, and without that over-identification, life becomes so much more fun, so much more playful, so much more relaxed and peaceful. And, we're not so invested. We're not, like you said, taking it so friggin' personally. We're not diving in and blaming ourselves for everything that went wrong. We can recognize that we are all doing the best we can with the resources and understanding that we have. And as Maya Angelou said, when we know better, we can do better, right? This awareness leads to different possibilities of choice.
And for now, we're doing a pretty damn good job.
Yeah. And you know what? There's, we can get in this mindset of there's always room for improvement, and that can be true, but it's also okay to rest where you are. And I think that's another piece of this feminine push of be nurture, be giving, do the things, listen, obey, be all the things to everyone, that will take us too far. And so we've got to find this nice little sweet spot of, we take care of ourselves because we are at our greatest capacity and ability to serve other people when we are full ourselves, right? When we have the resources, the tools, the energy, all of those things. So we can't look to other people for that. That's not where that comes from, even though we've spent our lives chasing external circumstances to save us, or even looking for a savior outside of ourselves, and a knight in shining armor to come along and to help us out of our shit. The truth is we're the only one that has the power to save ourselves. The idea that it could be anything else is mere illusion. And so if you can break free of that illusion, if you can stand in your power, if you can recognize that you always do have a choice, even when maybe both options don't seem great, but you always have a choice, and every single choice leads to the next moment, to the next baby step, to the next action, to the next present moment experience. And so choosing, creating from that space of awareness, of understanding of what you're building, allows you to create something that you want to build instead of simply responding to what has already been unconsciously or subconsciously or co-created in your experience.
Yeah. It's so powerful. It's so freeing. It's how how the human experience like ideally looks, is that empowerment, that sovereignty, that peace. It really does get to be freeing and easy.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it at the start, right? This is the thing about, what was this thing about this? And I actually have seen a few things talking about this. It gets to be easy thing. And I think I was listening in an audiobook or something recently. It's just come up a number of places. It gets to be easy once you've practiced, once you've built those neural pathways where this is your habit, where this kindness and compassion and love of yourself becomes your autopilot response. That's when it gets to become easy. When you're first starting, you're like, this don't fucking look easy. Like, I've tried and it doesn't work or it doesn't last, or I find myself back in those invitations back to old patterns. And that is going to happen. But the more you practice, the more you are consistent. And this doesn't have to be big things, baby steps every single day with some consistency. And if you fuck up, however that looks like for you, whatever you're thinking, I messed up and I didn't do the thing, or I didn't feel a way, or whatever the hell it is, giving yourself compassion, because you are in fact human with all of the emotions, with all of the possible experiences. And so, yeah, sometimes things get muddled. Sometimes things we have to, this is like the thing I was thinking about with boundaries, for example. Sometimes we don't know they have been crossed until they have been crossed. That is our signal, like, oh shit, that needs to be a boundary because it's been crossed and I didn't like it and that felt very out of alignment. And so now we go back, we learn from that. It's not that you were an idiot. It's that you hadn't had that experience yet, or had enough of that experience to recognize it, to pull it in, to say, oh, okay, this is something that I need to shift. And sometimes that happens. We're busy, complex humans. But the more we can just be aware, be cognizant of what's going on and how we might shift that's us standing in our power. That's how we can create the change that we want to see. That's how we create the change within ourselves that will be reflected into the world, by loving and accepting completely ourselves. First of all, it feels better. It feels more fun. Allows you this place of spacious playfulness and all of these good things, but it also gives other people permission to do the same. And that is how we change the world from the inside out.
Yeah. It's, a practice of acceptance and even gratitude in the hard moments. And I know that I think that a lot of us that went through this alone, it was hard to cultivate that aspect. But anyone listening here, you have this knowing now. You've heard me and Christy both say this, that in the midst of that chaos, something good will eventually come from it. And if you can even just take that tiny nugget and try to practice, when you start to feel a hint of anxiety, breathing into yourself, sinking into gratitude for experiencing this sensation. Like, how revolutionary is that? Like, instead of saying, oh, I'm filled with anxiety, I'm experiencing anxiety. Yeah. Rock on, and as we accept it and don't resist against it, it goes away. And it doesn't have to be hard at the beginning. You get to approach all of your experiences with this place of gratitude and acceptance, even when your human is so uncomfortable.
Yep. We have to get a little bit more comfortable with being a little uncomfortable, right? It's expanding into the realm of possibility. And the other possibilities outside of what you're currently experiencing require some level of uncertainty and some level of expansion, which we can define as uncomfortable, if that's how we want to see it, or we can see it as exciting, right? It's kind of the same thing depending on how we want to spin it. I also think that as long as you think something is hard or is going to be hard, that will be your experience. If you believe it will be hard, that is how you will experience it. You will be seeking out confirmation of that belief. That is how our brains work, right? There's too much information. We can't possibly take it all in. So our brain filter, so efficient like this, pulls in what it thinks we want to know based on our past, what's familiar, what's known. And so instead of, allowing it to pull that in and saying, oh, this is really uncomfortable because that's the definition we've had, or this is going to be difficult or hard or whatever. If we lean into that with the idea that this is going to be exciting and that anything is possible, then what else is possible? Anything is possible. And that small perspective shift from uncomfortable to exciting, or even fear to excitement, which feel the same in your body. It's just your definition of which angle you're going with, the story you're telling. What about redirecting it? This is very exciting. It's unknown, it's uncertain, but it's exciting because anything is possible.
Life in this moment right here feels brand new. And I love that. I cannot believe the amount of stuff we have covered in this hour together. It feels like this masterclass feels like my whole spiritual healing journey wrapped into one.
Yeah. And I hope that whatever people that are listening, I hope that you took a nugget, even if it's a small one, and just swish it around in the old melon, let it percolate in there. Just try it on, see what fits, see if you try that on, what's possible for you, what might shift. If you were to believe you're limitless, if you were to believe that it could be easier, if you were to believe that you are your own savior and that you have all of the power within you already, you are already her, this version of you that you want to become, she already exists in you, right? It's more of a stripping away of this shit that's in the way. That's it. You're already her. You don't need to go out and become her. You just need to strip away the things that aren't her so that you can live this authentic life that feels so aligned for you, which just means it feels really fucking good. And that's what you deserve. And then if you're a mom on top of this inner child work, this reparenting yourself is going to have a massive implication on the relationship that you have with your kids. Because I'll tell you what, the position that a lot of people have before doing this work is something like, well, I was raised this way and I turned out fine. And then you have a situation with your child that you then feel really crappy about. And say, oh, I just should have done better. I could have done better. So you're piling on the guilt. And at the same time, you've got this incongruent thought about well, I did this and this is fine. And then this is not fine. So you've got this incongruence hopping around the melon. If you do the work to reparent yourself, you are going to see that reflected in your relationships with your kids. And I know that if you're out there and you're a mom, you want what's best for your kids. You want them to see what's possible. You want them to have everything that they desire. And there is simply no better way to go about doing that than to lead the way yourself, right? By showing them how. They don't really listen that good, right? But they're watching. They're watching, observing. They're seeing what you're doing, what you're creating, and how you're doing that. And then when you are no longer acting out of these autopilot trauma responses, now you can become a safe space for someone else who is going through a difficult thing. And that becomes very important when you're parenting, so as not to, further traumatize, like you had mentioned before in this situation. You could very easily invalidate your child's feelings or emotions or all of these things. Or you can learn how to cope with that yourself so that you can then teach them as well. And that is the gift of parenting, I think, is there is so much opportunity for growth. The greatest teachers in the world, my children. I don't think I've done anything remotely as difficult as parenting. And when there is great challenge, there is great reward as well. So I would love to, if you have any thoughts to share on that, please feel free to add to that. But then also I'd love for you to share what you've got going on, what offers you might have. I know you have the deck, so you can share a little bit about that, and as well just where people can get in touch with you before we wrap up.
Thanks, Christy. And I agree. Doing the reparenting work on yourself and being a parent while you're doing it I mean, it amplifies the whole experience and it does make it so much more worthwhile. I don't think I would have done half the work I've done on myself if it weren't for my kids, just because I wouldn't have witnessed, the harm it was causing them and me, and it's powerful. So thank
Yeah,
you.
that awareness.
Yeah. It's been so beautiful to talk with you today, and thank you. Yeah, my cards, I would say, are the best place to start with all of the working with me. I have my inner child deck at innerchildoracle.com, and I have a bunch of different ways. If you follow me on social media, I have tons of free resources and mentorships and ways that you can dive into this deep work with me so that you can live from this place that Christy and I have been talking about of feeling free and feeling empowered and feeling like you're living on your highest timeline in the everyday moments, even if it doesn't seem like that's something that's possible. So I just encourage you to take all of the stuff that we shared today and allow yourself to be with it and just let it move through you. There's nothing you have to do or go write down or go journal out. Just let yourself be with the energy of what was experienced here today, and you're already going to start seeing some beautiful shifts.
Yeah, absolutely. That is solid advice. I was going to ask for one last tip. I feel like maybe you covered it, but if you have one last thought or idea, aside from obviously, we're just going to go about being in the present moment, really landing in the here and now, right? All of ourselves, our mind, body, and soul coming into this present moment, just maybe taking a breath to ground yourself here in this now. And if you don't feel super grateful for things that are going on in your life, because I know how sometimes that can be, and we can lose track of the gratitude for the things that we have, we can always be grateful for this life opportunity that breath brings us. Any last thoughts or words of wisdom that you would love to leave the listeners with?
Honestly, that's exactly my always biggest thing is getting in alignment with breath. And so you nailed it right on the head, because when we're breathing deep, we are deep within ourselves. And this work does get to be easy. And I don't mean it's not uncomfortable, and it's not, but it does get to be easy in that it is what you make of it. It is in alignment with your breath in this present moment, with even a little chuckle in your heart as you move through some of this stuff. You can have a lot of fun with it. And if you're not, then take a break and do something that makes you laugh.
Yeah. That's perfect advice. Thank you so much for sharing this incredible conversation. If you're listening, would love to know what aha moments or what shifts you might have noticed in yourself and through this experience or trying this on. We would love to hear from you. The details will be below for the Inner Child Oracle deck. Definitely be sure to check that out and to follow Nikyla on her various platforms. Thank you so much for sharing this conversation with me. To all the listeners, I love you. Now let's go do some epic shit, shall we? Mwah. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Create Your Happy's special bonus season. I trust this real, raw, uncut conversation will fuel your inner fire and provide you with the practical action steps needed to propel you forward. It's time to unlock your path to consciously creating an impact and leaving your legacy. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share with other women in your life who could use a little extra inspiration today. My guest and I would love to hear from you. You'll find the links to connect with us both in the show notes. And if you're ready to take your life, relationship, and business to the next level, I invite you to consider working with me one-on-one. Together, we'll up-level every aspect of your beautiful human journey to create the fulfilling relationships that you desire and deserve. Reach out to learn more about how we can embark on this transformative journey together. As always, get out there, have fun, be you, and create your happy.